Black, brown, low income, inner city. These are some things that I am not. White, middle class, suburban born, and suburban bred. Those are some things that I certainly am. So when I, a journalism student at Roosevelt University, was tasked with writing the stories of murdered inner city Chicago women, I kept repeating a question in my mind. Who was I to take on such a project? I'm a journalist. By definition, I'm supposed to write stories. A feature piece on the rainy springtime weather? Sure. A review of Chicago's newest off-Broadway show? You got it. But what am I supposed to do when I'm tasked with writing about something heavy, nonetheless murder? After tracking the murder patterns, these 51 murders had all been tied to one killer thanks to research from the Murder Accountability Project. A serial killer was loose in Chicago, but the local police force couldn't even put the pieces together without the help of a nonprofit organization. That was one of the first moments of real shock to me. A serial killer in Chicago? A police department with a $1.6 billion budget, yet no justice. 51 murders and likely thousands more, all unsolved. I felt outraged, but more so confused. How could the serial killer run free after decades of murder sprees? For the class project, I was assigned to write a profile on any one of 3 homicide victims given to me by my professor. 3 names, 3 women. Velma Howard, Hazel Marion Lewis, Wanda Hall. Each forgotten by Chicago police and ignored by most major media outlets. Facebook was where I began my search for names and profiles, but with each Google search came nothing but short police reports, obituaries, and countless dead ends. I shifted my focus away from the women assigned to me and contacted an anti-violence organization instead. Mothers Opposed to Violence Everywhere, aka MOVE, was the first group I contacted. Reverend Robin Hood, a devoted activist and faith leader in Chicago's West Side, is the current director of MOVE. He set up an interview between me and Christina Hopkins, the director of Missing and Murdered Women for MOVE. What grabbed my attention was how Christina, despite detailing the graphic murder of her 26-year-old cousin Shantia Smith, didn't shed a single tear. She remained chillingly calm, with a stone-cold expression, as if she'd told the story 1,000,000 times before. And honestly, she probably had. Smith was found dead inside of a parking garage in Chicago's Lawndale community in 2018. Her murderer was likely a former love affair with whom Smith had been involved with since 2011. I remember hearing the tension in Hopkins' voice as she explained to me that her alleged murderer had sent threatening text messages on Smith's phone only days before she was found dead. Despite overwhelming evidence, Chicago police failed to ever convict the man. Over 2 years later, Smith's 6-year-old daughter is still deeply mourning the loss of her mother. Hopkins said that she still sleeps with a pillow that has her mom's face printed on it. I ended the Zoom call after our interview, left with nothing but an audio recording of our chat and a pit in my stomach. Thankfully, I don't get emotionally attached to stories. As a journalist, I feel like this is one of my strong qualities. I wrote my article on Hopkins, her work as the director of Missing and Murdered Women, and her very personal connection to violence in Chicago. But even after submitting the assignment and earning a good grade, I couldn't forget our conversation. That somewhere in Lawndale, mere miles away from my apartment in Lakeview, there was an 8-year-old girl crying into her pillow without the warm embrace of her mom. So who am I to write these stories? Honestly, I'm not much. I'm a student journalist far from my big shot job as a reporter and even farther from the violence that communities in South and West Chicago face every day. Maybe I'm not much, but for now, students like me may be the best they've got. And maybe, just maybe, we're enough to get their stories told.